Welcome back to Land the House. I received a multi-tool and a multi-tool knife from a company on Amazon called Xucoo, and they asked that I do a review on their products. So let's open these up and see how well they perform. Okay, let's start off with the multi-tool first. I like that the snap is nice and firm here. Now I am noticing though that the strap in the back is probably not going to last too long, but it has been my experience that pouches like this don't last long with that strap, so it may have to be re-sewn at some point to give a better strap on the back, but the snap is nice. So here is the multi-tool, and when you open it up, it's got a good solid snap there. The spring seems a little bit weak, but not too bad for opening the plier back up. Now one thing I noticed pretty quick that I kind of like is that there's a push button on both sides, and that is going to release whatever tool you're using and also lock it down. So what I mean by that is, say you pop out this little saw here, it's going to lock in there and not be coming back out. So you can close this back up, and if you're using that, it's not going to be collapsing onto your hand like some of the multi-tools that you use. So that's a good feature. Okay, let's run through all of its options real quick before we give it a good test. So first thing, it's got a plier up here with the bigger grip there. It's got a wire cutter here, and I believe there is a little hole or an indentation in here towards the base, and that is for stripping wires. So we'll also give that a try. So we've got a standard pocket knife kind of knife over here. The blade seems sharp, but the tip is just as dull as can be. So we'll cut something in just a bit and see if it will poke something with that dull tip. Other side of this has the saw, which we just opened. We'll give a little saw for something. And I think they called the edge of this a descaler for fish. I've never used one of those. It has a small screwdriver here, just a little flat head, and it's also got a little Phillips head there, so we'll give both of those a try. Other side, it's got a file with larger flathead screwdriver on it. It's got a can opener and bottle opener, so we will give that a try. I've never seen one before that had the bottle opener and can opener on the same tool, so that's kind of neat. And then over here, it's got another flathead, slightly bigger than the other side, but not by much. And then the last tool here, I think they call that a leather punch. I don't really have any leather to try that on, but that's what it is. So let's start testing out these tools. Let's try out these wire cutters here. I've got a 14 gauge. Let's see if it'll cut that. Yeah, really quick, nice. All right, and this is gonna be, I believe, a 10 gauge. Well, it cut it, and I'm seeing a little marring on the tool there, but not too bad. Still works well. Now let's see if it will strip this wire. I just got it in the little notch here. I'm going to spin that around. Not yet. Yeah, there we go. That was actually kind of convenient. Let's try it on this larger wire here. Spin it around a bit. Grab it by the pliers now and pull. Yeah, surprisingly that little wire cutter works decent in there, and the stripper also does a good job. And the pliers, they seem to have a pretty good grip. Like I can really torque down on that and it's not causing any issues. So pliers and wire cutters, check. Now I wonder how many times we could cut something this big before it starts to wear down that. So let's give it a try here. That's doing a pretty good job, believe it or not. And I'm not really seeing any damage on that from that first bit. So Okay, wire cutters and stripper and pliers, check. I like it. Let's give that knife a try. That's what I think, besides the pliers, most people use on these tools. So let's close this up and let's just shave off some of this wood. You know, it's doing an okay job. It's not super sharp. You know, let's test out my other knife just to see a comparison. Okay, so that's what a sharp knife does, and that's what a dull knife does. So this knife definitely needs to be sharpened for the first use here. Now, like I said, that tip seems really dull. I don't know if that's done on purpose or what, but definitely would want to sharpen it enough that that tip is sharper than it is. Well, we have this block of wood out. Let's see what the saw does. Not much. Not much at all. So I'm kind of wondering if that's supposed to be a saw that you would use for fish. I don't know. Yeah, that's not doing a lot here on a block of wood, and it's fairly dull to the touch. I found a little wood screw. Let's see how well the screwdriver works on here. Let's see what side we're on. There we go. Okay, let's see if this screwdriver can drive in this wood screw. Yeah, it's not the easiest screwdriver to work with, but it is doing the job. Minimal twisting in the handle, which is good. Yeah. Let's get a close-up view of what's happening to the screwdriver here. So as I'm screwing this in, of course it slips a little bit. But is it tearing up the driver any? Let's see. Doesn't seem to be affecting it much. So it must be of a steel hard enough that it's able to withstand slipping off like that. Let's give it a really good slip here and see. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's still holding up decent there. So it's definitely made of a quality steel. First impressions of the Xucoo plier. Well, the case definitely has a nice snap, and I think that the case itself is going to last a while. Probably going to see some wear and tear on that strap after a bit. Now for the plier, very heavy. The snap for closure is good. The wire cutter, which is one of the main features that I saw advertised, is of good quality. And the pliers seem to do exactly what they need to do. Now the knife, I found, needs to be sharpened. It is doesn't have a very good point and is pretty dull out of the box. So I would definitely sharpen that before a lot of use. The saw, didn't find much use for that, but I'm thinking it's something to do with fishing. It's what you would use that mostly for. And the screwdrivers seem to work just fine. So I give this definitely a thumbs up on quality. And for myself, this is the kind of item I would leave in the house or in my car for just casual use. Not much of a multi-tool carrier on my person, but seems to be of quality, and the price is very good. Let's move on to the knife real quick. Now for the knife, I'm finding the case is the exact same as the multi-tool, so we know that the case is of quality, but the strap seems to be kind of lacking there. Now I've not used this for very long, so I can't say whether or not that case is going to hold up. So for the knife, it's got an array of attachments such as some Phillips head, some flat, and it looks like maybe a T25 here. It says H4. All right, here's a T25. Nope, doesn't fit a T25. I'm guessing that's just a standard Allen wrench. So, okay, but for the knife, it's got the main knife with an opening tab here, so you can flip that open with one hand, and it does lock down here in the middle. So to release that, it's got a pretty easy to get to thumb spot You can just close that up. So definitely good there. Let's try out the tip of this knife versus the previous. Much better. And let's test out how sharp this is compared to the other one. Definitely pulling off more material this time than the previous one did. I think it's actually a lot sharper than my current pocket knife. This one also has a small serrated edge on it, so let's give that a try here. Definitely cuts better than the little saw blade on the other knife. So that's the knife. Now on the other side there is a pair of pliers. This little handle pops out and you can just fold it over and it reveals a pair of pliers. Now this pair of pliers does have a wire cutter as well, so let's give this a test on the same wire. We've got the 14 gauge. It's just kind of bending it. Not doing too well there. Let's flip it over here. Yeah, that's uncomfortable in the hand to flip it over. Well now, let's use a little bit of table force. Uh-oh, I think I was separating the handle a little bit. Did it bend it? Let's see if it bent it. I think it bent the handle just a little bit, trying to use the table as a little leverage there. So, pliers on this one may be good, but the wire cutters are not working too well on a 14 gauge wire, which is pretty easy to cut through. Let's try this bigger. Nope. Not going through that wire. So I'm definitely not liking the wire cutters on that. What would it be good for? Let's try out cutting through some plastic. Okay. Paper. Will it cut through paper? It'll tear paper, but okay. So the pliers on this, I think, are okay for very general pulling, but the wire cutter, not so good there. Not liking that at all. So okay, so on this side we've got can opener and screwdriver. So it's got its little point there. It's not a very sharp point. I may have to get a can so we can test this out. It's got a little tiny screwdriver on the end. Next we've got bottle cap opener on this side with screwdriver. And then lastly, the Phillips head attachment is both a Phillips head, but it also has a screw base on it that can be used with these tools here. Now, that's pretty hard to get out of there. Maybe this is what the pliers are for. You can pull your plier out and remove this tool. Yeah. And then from there you can use, let's say, one of these Phillips heads. Okay. Let's see how well this is going to do here. And it's got a little magnet in there. Kind of holds it on, I guess. And then this end will hold the tool. So previously we used the pliers to drive this screw. Let's see if this tool can remove that and then maybe put it back in a different spot. Okay. Well, it definitely has a better fit than the previous tool, using an actual bit large enough to fit that screw. Got it out of there pretty quick. Let's see how well it's going to redrive this in a different place. Well, it's definitely nice to have a tool with the right size bit on it, because that was a whole lot easier than the previous tool. So this has more than just the Phillips head. It's got a couple of flat heads and then a couple of Allen wrench there. So that's, I guess, handy to have. Let me find a can and we'll test out both can openers on this tool and on the plier. Nothing says multi-tool or multi-knife like opening a can of emergency chicken. So let's see how well it operates here. Oh, come on, I'm really hungry. Need to get me some chicken. Well, that one's not doing so well. Let's try out this guy. Aha! We're in. Let's see if he'll move along the can here and get this popped open. Yep. This guy's doing the job here. Okay. Let's go back to this one and see if we can get in there a different spot. Nope. Maybe I'm using the wrong hand. Nope, we're not in yet. Well, that gives us some good conclusion here on these tools. Well, I feel like those tests are pretty real world for the average person. The case, it's a case. Probably wouldn't even use it if it was in my car. But for the tools, first let's start off with the knife. The knife itself was easy to pop open, seemed to have a sharp blade and sharp tip. The serrated edge was also decent, so that was probably my favorite part of this tool. The pliers, of course, were able to grip pretty good, but the wire cutters, no good. Not good at all. Okay. The can opener, total fail. Unable to open a can of chicken. So the screwdriver might be practical, but as far as opening up a can, I would not want to rely on that. Now, the bottle opener, I don't have any bottles to open, but it looks like it would grasp just fine and pop a bottle. So I'm confident that would work. Now, the tool had the attachments, and those seem to work pretty well, so not too bad. So overall, I'm not too pleased with this knife. You can get a knife by itself and be better off, I think. And then as far as pliers and the tool attachments, not as impressed with that. Now let's move on to the multi-tool. In general, I liked this tool. I like the solid snap that it had when it opens up. We found that the wire cutters were very useful, practical. The wire stripper, which was a new feature to me at least, worked well, so I'm pleased with the plier aspect. The can opener, we got into the chicken, so that was good. Bottle opener, I have a feeling would work as well. And from what I found with the screwdriver attachments, they are a little small, but they seem to work just fine. And I don't file my nails, so I didn't use the file. But you know what? Let's file something down real quick. I've got a piece of aluminum here that was from some door flashing, and it's got some really sharp edges on it. Let's see if it'll file that away. Looks like we got one of those burrs off of there. Okay, that's definitely better. Let's try out this double side here and see if that does anything. It's a finer file. Yeah, you know, that's actually working pretty good. Okay, I feel like this video has gone on long enough. So my conclusion is the pliers are nice. If you want a good pair of pliers as a multi-tool on your person, it's a little heavy, but for a car or in the house, seems to be a decent quality pair. Now the knife, not a big fan of. So you can watch this video and make your own decision, but if you want to check this out, I have a link to it in the description down below. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.